Cassandra Sister here, this is Diana. Today I'm sharing the preface and chapter 1 from my book, Lonely in Love. He's not just being a guy, he may be autistic. This chapter is where my journey really began, before I even knew that so many women were living stories just like mine. For my book reading from Lonely in Love, the stories are adapted for YouTube. If you'd like the full story, you can find it on Amazon. Again, the title is Lonely in Love by D. River Martin. It's both in paperback and audio. As always, I want to say I'm not a doctor or therapist. I'm simply sharing real experiences to raise awareness and let you know that you are not alone. So let's begin with the preface, and then we'll move right into chapter 1, Nepal Changed Everything. Preface. I was sitting with friends in my writing group, sharing some of the frustrating situations I'd been going through with my partner. They listened kindly, but most responded with, "Oh honey, all men are like that." That only added to my frustration because I knew deep down my issues with Gil weren't like most people's. After a sudden jolt in my relationship with Gil, which I'll explain later, I joined several Facebook groups for non-autistic women, often called neurotypical or NT, married to or partnered with men on the spectrum. Gil had mentioned Asperger's early on in our dating, but I thought nothing of it. In this book, I'll use the word autism, though you'll see different terms depending on each storyteller's comfort. Don't let the terminology distract you. This is a book of stories, not a textbook. Like many of the women in those groups, I didn't recognize Gil's autism until after we were living together. At first, I thought he was simply quirky. I had no idea how deep one has to go to understand a man like him in order to have a healthy or even tolerable relationship. As I connected with other women, I noticed the same patterns repeating. Friends and family dismissed our concerns, told us to let it go, or accused us of being too sensitive. "He's just being a guy." Words that began to make our ears bleed. We knew our men were different, and the stress was real. Each of us wanted to be heard, but the outside world wouldn't listen. That's when I learned about Cassandra phenomenon, a state of confusion, self-doubt, and inner turmoil that's common among neurotypical people partnered with adults on the spectrum whose accounts are doubted or dismissed by others. Kenneth Roberson, PhD. The more stories I heard, the more deeper I felt them. I wanted to share these women's experiences with the world. I invited members of the groups to send me their stories, and the response was overwhelming. Within weeks, I had powerful accounts from women who were desperate to be understood. This book does not dismiss the autistic partner's experience. Instead, it focuses on the neurotypical woman's perspective, often filled with frustration, grief, and bewilderment. Knowing Gil is autistic has changed my life and our relationship forever. Knowledge is power, and understanding is how the world finds peace. Understanding is the very foundation of love. Thich Nhat Hanh. All names have been changed to protect privacy. Chapter 1, A Jolt of Reality. Nepal Changed Everything. He went to Nepal without me. We'd been together 8 years. For years, I had dreamed of visiting an Asian country. I told him this many times. My schedule was completely open, no financial strain, and yet he made his plans without me, letting me know only a few weeks before, like I was the gardener and pet sitter. "You need to look after the dogs and feed the birds," he said matter-of-factly. My stomach dropped. In Nepal, he did everything I had dreamed of: trekking the Himalayas, walking with elephants, watching monkeys in the streets, and experiencing a culture I longed to see. And he couldn't understand why I was devastated. He couldn't see that he had hurt me deeply. I needed him to include me, to take me on the next trip. But since he didn't understand, I would have to force it. And I hated feeling that way. Now he's already been to the countries I dreamed of. If we go together, will he refuse to repeat the things I've always wanted to do? Will he say, "You go alone to the temples," or "Take that hike by yourself"? I know I'm lucky to even have a chance to travel one day, but what I long for is a shared memory. Those moments when you look at each other and know what the other's thinking. I will never have that with him. And since I don't plan to leave him, I must either accept reality or continue to ache from it. Nepal changed everything. While he was gone, I searched for answers. How could the man I loved be so unaware of my suffering? I wondered if he was narcissistic, sociopathic, or had borderline personality disorder. But none of those fit. He wasn't manipulative or cruel. He was often kind, gentle, and deeply sensitive to animals and history. He would cry over the Holocaust, yet disappear when I cried. Then I discovered Asperger's syndrome, now called Autism Level 1. It explained everything. Suddenly his behavior made sense in a way no other label had. That painful trip became a turning point. I posted my story in a support group, and within an hour, a woman from halfway around the world called me. "Your story is my story." She even invited me to move into a home she was renting. I didn't take her up on it, but that night I realized I wasn't alone. She wasn't a stranger. She was me, a sister in this strange, bewildering world. Stay tuned for the next video, the next chapter, a merry-go-round of pain, lost and then found, Margaret's story. Take good care of yourself.